I'm not gonna pay rent to be a bum. The chicken sandwich ain't nothing to fuck with either. It's a legit chicken sandwich they got. I'm gonna be a 30-year-old man. You act like I don't know how to come? Welcome in, everybody, to the next episode of Joe Kelly's Van Chronicles. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joe Kelly, your audio version of a mushroom. This is my podcast. It's called The Van Chronicles. Usually coming to you live from the podcast studio that is the 2000 Dodge Grand Caravan, also known as Goldie. But not today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm in Huntsville, Alabama, and I'm in a house. So that's where I'm coming to you live from today. Because it is warm outside, and I'm just going to knock a podcast out while I can be comfy and inside and stop doing a podcast like an animal. So it's very good. If you'd like to support the podcast, if you'd like to support my efforts, you can check out utilizeshrooms.threadless.com. It's a shirt store, but there's also many other things. You can get notebooks, you can get handbags, you can get towels, pillows. You can get it all with many different designs and logos that I have created or have been helped create. My ideas that other people, I couldn't execute the idea, but other people helped me out. But check it out, utilizeshrooms.threadless.com, also on Twitter and Instagram at utilizeshrooms, and my comedy website, joekellycomedy.com, K-E-L-L-E-Y. There's also a Facebook page where I've kind of been keeping like a running blog. I'm transitioning everything over to the website too, so you'll be able to find it there, but it's been a man in his van comedy detour updates. They've just kind of been like a blog that I've been keeping just because the podcast has been, it's been real hot to try and record a podcast in a van while you're driving, so it's easier just to type kind of like a blog in a coffee shop. So that's what I was doing while I was on the road. But I'm in Huntsville, Alabama, doing a weekend at Stand Up Live, the new comedy club down here. It's been here for like a year. I'm going to be, I'm hosting this weekend for Hal Sparks, and I guess the club owners, the Dorfmans, just closed on this house the other day, maybe yesterday or 2 days ago, something like that. But this is going to be like the comedy house, I guess. They apparently had a condo, but the neighbors were complaining about smoke and all that shit, so they got a house. It's got quite a few bedrooms, like 4 or 5 bedrooms or something like that. So it's not all done up, you know. They just closed on it, but there's a couple beds in here. There aren't any sheets or anything, but it's cozy enough. They got some toiletries and tissue paper and toilet paper and a washer and dryer. I'm doing some laundry right now while we're recording this, so I'm very grateful, very happy to be back in the South, man. Oh, it's been good. It's already been real good just to get back into like Nashville. I wasn't supposed to be back in Nashville until next week. Well, I guess it'll be this week because I'm going to put this out on Monday. So I wasn't supposed to be back in Nashville until today, let's say. But I was in Atlanta, and Lucy hit me up. She's the booker at Zany. She also got me booked at Stand Up Live this weekend. And we were talking for a little bit, and she's like, well, you can come up to Nashville and do the show this Wednesday night. And I was like, okay. I didn't have anything going on, so I went up to Nashville a little bit early and did a show at Zany's, a good old Zany's Comedy Club. Comedy out the Yazoo, just sponsored by Yazoo Brewery. It was fun, man. It was real fun. It was good to be back and good to get to see some friends. My buddy Monty Mitchell was on the show. He's hilarious. He's really, really funny. Hilarious, if I could say that word. Good Lord. Brian B. Covington was there. B. Cov's a good dude. Some new faces that I haven't seen. Some old faces I didn't want to see. But, you know, it's just how it goes. It's just part of life. Also got to see my good friends Brad Sativa and Aaron Weber. They popped in, come to check out the show. It was great, man. It was really, really fun. It was good to get to see some friends. And then did the old Nashville routine where after we did the show, I took Sativa over to Mickey's in East Nashville and met up with the Trash Boys, Josh Lewis and Josh Wagner. So I tied one on with them. And it was just great, man. It was good getting back. It's good to get to see friends. All that shit takes you back, and you know, I don't know. I feel like they, the Nashville crew, the Nashville man. I would take a group of Nashville comics, because there are some straight killers in that town, man. I would put them up against any comedy scene. I really would. There's a good handful of comics. I'd put Wagner, I'd put Lewis, I'd put Monty and Sativa and Weber. I'd put those 5. I'd take those 5 guys and Mary J. Berger. I'd throw her in the mix too. And there's some other ones too. There's some real good comics, but those would be the 6 that I would take to any city in this whole fucking country, any comedy scene, and put them up, and fucking wouldn't have a doubt that they would just, they'd put on and they'd fucking smash. It's just the Nashville comedy scene. As far as, and I might be a little bit biased just because that's where I started or whatever, but it's real good, man. They're real deep and they're real strong comics there. So it's just fun. It's inspiring. I don't know, and that's something coming back too, is I don't know how inspired I've been, how motivated I've been out in Seattle. So getting back around these fucking animals, it's like, God damn, I miss you guys, and I gotta step my shit up. So that's kind of where I'm at right now in my head. It's like, man, maybe I'll move to Atlanta, because I gotta get some roots. I'm gonna keep my van, but I think the next step for me right now is, because it'll be 3 years I've been in my van since, in February, it'll be 3 years. 2 of those years were in Nashville, and then this past year was just kind of like bumming around, really. I mean, I was in Seattle, but I kind of got out and wasn't really in Seattle. But I was there for the most part anyway. But maybe it's time to just kind of get some roots somewhere, try and get a little money in the bank account, and try and build something somewhere. And just thinking about Atlanta, I already have inns at Zany's in Nashville. This new stand-up live is a good inn to have. Atlanta, I know some people down there. It was great getting to go down to Atlanta and seeing familiar faces. I got to see some friends, and just felt nice. Same thing like Pensacola. Like, I kind of have this, and there's still parts of this side of the country I haven't really established myself enough yet. Like, I've been to Chicago, and that, for a couple days that went well. But I got to do like Washington, D.C., Baltimore, New York, Philly, Pittsburgh, all these places that I could kind of fuck around in. And it would just be good to be back around familiar faces and shit. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out, but I think that might be the next move, is going to Atlanta for a little bit and paying some rent and all that shit, which I don't want to do. I don't want to do it, but maybe I need to for a little bit. Just to take a break. Just to take a little bit of a break from all the bullshit I've been doing. I don't know. I'm trying to get it all figured out. That's where we're at right now. And so let's get into what this bullshit podcast is going to be. This is part 2 of your questions answered. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry it took a little bit long to get to it. I'm just very excited to just be back around friends and what I consider family. So I'm very happy, very excited to be back here. Very excited to be in Huntsville, fucking Alabama. The club down here is phenomenal. If you ever get a chance to go to the club, do it. It's a very nice club. The food, untouchable. As far as comedy club food goes, this is one of the best. They got fucking shrimp and grits. Like, they go all out. They got steaks. They got pasta. The chicken sandwich ain't nothing to fuck with either. It's a legit chicken sandwich they got. Fuck with it. Stand Up Live in Huntsville, Alabama. They're doing some shit right down at this club, man. It is a really, really nice club, and they got their shit together. So fuck with it. If you get a chance to perform, do it too. They're treating you like a king, man. Treating me like a king. It's been fantastic. I love it. They don't even know me really, but it's my first time here. I haven't been to Huntsville in like 3 years. And I pop in down here, and everyone's treating me real good. It's wonderful, man. Wonderful, wonderful time down here in Huntsville, Alabama. So I'm very excited. So this is going to be part 2 of your questions answered. I fished a line on Facebook and just was like, hey, man, what do you guys want to know about living in a van and all that shit? So I got some questions. One episode, you can check out the previous episode. That is some of the questions. Most of the questions were answered during that. There's still some left. There's a bunch of silly ones that people were just being silly with. I'm going to answer them anyway because they were asked. I'm not even sure all the people who ask questions listen to this podcast, but maybe they're just trying to help me out. So there's some silly, dumbass questions, and then there's a few good ones left still. You fucking assholes asking your dumbass questions. So let's just get it popping, man. Let's get it rolling. We're going to have some fun with this one. Let's see. This probably will be pretty short, Good friend Dan Whitehurst, the funniest cop in America, right? He's a comic in Nashville. Very funny. What'll Goldie run in an 1/8 mile? I don't know. It takes probably the fucking... First of all, I don't know what that means. I don't know if how fast will she get going in an 1/8 a mile, or how fast she can do an 1/8 of a mile in. And I'd say anywhere between 40 and 80 seconds would be for an 1/8 mile. I don't know if that's... I'm pretty sure that's slow, but I'm not going to fucking push it. It's an old van. It's a 2,000 grand Caravan. Why am I going to fucking hot rod a goddamn van? For no reason. And plus, I've had issues with the transmission. I don't need to be running and gunning out there. Dan, you're a cop. You shouldn't be asking how fast I can do an 1/8 mile in, because that would mean I'm street racing illegally, because it's a minivan. You can't legally race a minivan anywhere. Dan, terrible cop. You're a terrible, terrible cop. Always getting high, always smoking your weed when you shouldn't be smoking your weed. Terrible officer. Terrible, terrible law enforcement official. I'll tell you that much right now. He's a good man. Maura Satirial. She's a comic out in Seattle. Again, these questions are very, very silly. What percentage of the interior is coated in semen stains? Ballpark. Less than 1%. Hate to disappoint you, but I'm not just... it probably used to be a lot more, but I took the headliner out. So now there's far less surface area coated in semen inside the van. I know how to come. I'm gonna be a 30-year-old man. You act like I don't know how to come? Come on now. That's ridiculous. I'm just gonna be blasting it all over, ruining my shirts, ruining everything. No. I've been doing this long enough to where I know how to jack off and do it so it doesn't make a mess. I know how to come. It's simple. Again, silly, silly questions. Tim Young. How big is your piss jug? Tim Young, great guy from San Francisco. Wonderful human being. How big is the piss jug? Usually a gallon. If I need a piss jug. I don't really piss in a jug too much. I do it when I have to. But I've been not buying water jugs lately. I've been not buying gallon jugs just because I have a little 2-gallon like Coleman cooler sort of thing, or like water cooler, I guess, where I just kind of fill it up with water. So the piss jug thing, there's I use a Tupperware dish, actually. That's what I use, because then you just dump it out, and then you never keep, you don't have to load it up. Because if you piss in a jug, I don't know, it seems like it's easier to store, and then once you store up your pee, it starts to stink real bad. So I do it in a little Tupperware dish when I have to, and, sometimes it happens. Or you use like an old cup, like sometimes you get a big cup from somewhere, like you go to the gas station, get a 69-cent Diet Dr. Pepper from the fountain drinks, and then, you got a 32-ounce cup to piss in. So 32 ounces, we'll say. I don't know how big the Tupperware dish is, but I don't know. See? Silly, like, why? No one could be that interested in how big the piss jug is. For real. No one could be. If it was like a 5-gallon jug, or like a 50-gallon drum, if I was just rolling around with a drum, like one of those big metal drums filled with pee, that'd be more of a story, but it's really not that exciting. Patrick Devine, he's just a fucking idiot who lives in Nashville. Who's your daddy? Great question, Patrick. You've always been very funny. I can see that your comedy career is taking off very quickly. Way to go. Fucking dumb shit. Moving along to Josh Slater. Josh Slater, a great man. He used to do comedy. I don't know if he still does anymore, or if he's just married and doing that whole thing. Does your van ever get too hot to sleep in? He has a few questions. The first question, does your van ever get too hot to sleep in? If so, where do you sleep? Yeah, it does. Sometimes it gets too fucking hot, man. It gets real, real hot in there. But usually you just got to deal with it. For the most part, if it's hot, it's just something you got to deal with, Try and get to bed at a decent time, but usually it doesn't happen. But I do have a little battery-powered fan. I think I touched on this in the last episode, but I have a battery-powered fan, and that'll kind of do it. Just keeps a breeze on you. It's enough. It's not comfy, but it is enough. And there was one night in Nashville where I slept at Planet Fitness just because I got real drunk. I got so fucking drunk, and then I just wandered out to the van and then tried to sleep. and was in there for maybe like 2 hours. It was probably like 4 in the morning or something by the time I wandered back to that fucking van. Just piss fucking drunk. And it's the summertime. It's probably July or some shit. So I try to go to sleep, and I'm just laying in there just sweating for God knows how long. Probably about 2 hours I was in there, and couldn't sleep. I can't remember if I was dozing off or not, but just pissed drunk, just sweaty. And so I just went to Planet Fitness, and in some Planet Fitnesses across from the showers, they have little changing stalls, and some of the changing stalls have like a half bench, like it's maybe 3.5 feet long, you know. So I just locked the door and just kind of half laid my body on there and slept for like half-ass slept for the next couple hours, and was like, well, I guess my day is starting this way, you know. That was so that's been most of it. A lot of times, you know, people will offer their couches to me, but I try not to take it. I usually don't, just because, you know, I don't want to. I did this to myself. Like, this is, you know, what I'm doing. That's my bed. So that's just where I stay. Sometimes a nice lady will let me stay with her too. But that was when I had my girlfriend back in Nashville too. You know, I just stay with her for the most part, which I think that kind of became not so good. I probably should have stayed in my van more. But I don't know. I just wanted to be around her and her around me. Some shit like that. But, you know, so most of the time I stay in the van. Do you have a contingency plan for if it ever gets impounded or requires repairs that you cannot afford? No, I don't. I got right now I have like no fucking money at all. Like no money at all. I'm damn near broke. So if some shit goes down with the van, I mean, I'm down with it at this point. I always have friends and I always have family, but no, I have no plan. I have no money and I have no plan if shit goes wrong with my van. So they just try and figure it out, you know, just have a little bit of fun, I guess. Do I have an unlimited data plan? I do not. I don't. I have limited data, and I had to put a little, like a block on it, so I'd stop going over my data, because if you go over your suggested use of data or what you're allowed, it costs a lot. But I don't, you know, and I think that's probably better for me, just because it'd be real easy to just sit in that van if I just had data and could just be on my phone all the time. So, and it also makes you a little savvy too, where you got to try and find like Wi-Fi. You know, if I do, you know, and then it becomes like a treat, you know. If I park somewhere, like if I park, like when I was in, I think it was still in Alabama, just a couple nights ago before I went to Atlanta, like I stayed in a Walmart parking lot, and I just kind of parked close enough and then looked at my phone. I was like, oh, I can get Wi-Fi. I can get Walmart's Wi-Fi from where I'm parked. So then it becomes like a treat. You know, it's like, oh, good Lord, what are we going to get into? Like, what are we going to watch tonight? Because I get to treat myself to a little something, a little internet viewing before I go to bed. So that's real fun too, but I don't. I keep it limited. And so that'll be a thing, like if I need like a GPS too, like going to like a gas station, Walmart, Planet Fitness, and I have to get my shit set up beforehand before I get into the van. You know, it just makes you think a little bit more. So I'll plug in the address, get it pulled up, and then walk out, and then get on my route. So no unlimited data. What's the PJ situation? Pajamas? Do you do boxers, nightie, or nude? Pajama situation, it depends on the weather. Most of the time it's going to be boxers. Sometimes boxers and a t-shirt. I have nuded it up, but that's when it's cool too. I usually don't get naked when it's hot. I usually, when I'll nude it up if it's kind of like cool and I get in my sleeping bag and still feel comfy. But usually it's boxers. In the wintertime, it'll be a lot of hoodies and sweatpants and shit like that. But boxers and nude are the way to go. Thank you for the questions, Josh Slater. I appreciate those. They're very nice. And moving on, this will be it. So, last question or questions come from my good friend Rob Haynes. Rob Haynes is a stand-up comedian in Nashville. He also hosts a podcast with my good friend Josh Lewis called Letters from Camp Blood. It's a Friday the 13th podcast, so if you're into it, you should check it out, man. Rob and Josh are real good together. Letters from Camp Blood. Check out their podcasts. They're good dudes. Rob Haynes asks, have you ever thought about moving into a storage unit? No. Why would I? I have a van. What's the point in moving? Because then I'm still paying rent, and if I'm going to pay rent, I'm at least going to be comfy. Like, I'm not gonna pay rent and live in a fucking storage unit like a bum. If I'm paying rent, I'm already a bum. I already got the bum part figured out. I'm not going to pay rent to be a bum. That's silly. That's so silly. Why would I do that? Why would I move into a storage unit if I have to pay for it? No. I'll just get a fucking place. Good Lord. Does Goldie still have a boat battery? She does not. For those of you who don't know, when I first got my van, when I first bought it, the people who had it before me had a boat battery in it. And I left that boat battery in there for 2.5 years. Like, it just kept running on it. And I took it out. I had it for, how long did I have it for? I got it in 2015, had it for a few months. And I took it out to Monterey, California for the California Roots Festival. It's a great just music festival thing. But I left the boat battery in there. So it was like 5,500 miles on that boat battery. And I was like, that's going to be it. And I'll just get a new battery whenever it dies. But it never died. It just kept going and going and going. But finally, before I left Seattle in July to go on my little tour, I got rid of the battery. I just figured it was probably a better idea to upgrade and get just a normal battery. And plus, it was kind of old, so I didn't know how much longer it was going to last. But that boat battery was solid as fuck, man. For real. But I no longer have it. I have a regular old car battery. Have you ever tried cooking on the engine block? I haven't. I've read some stuff. I haven't really read it, but I've watched some videos on YouTube of people, putting shit in tinfoil and throwing it on the engine block, and then you go for a drive, and then it gets cooked. But I haven't done that. I got my little camping stove and my propane burner, and that's how I've kind of been cooking lately. So that's it. What would it take for you to consider moving out of the van? What a perfect question to end on. Spending almost 3 years in the fucking van will make you consider moving out of it. Yeah, that'll do it. What would it take? I don't know, man. Just spending a lot of time alone, questioning yourself and your own psyche and going, what are you doing exactly? And I do love it, man. I love it. I love the minimalistic aspect of it, the fact that I don't have to pay rent, that I don't really have to worry about bills much, that I'm just out doing my own fucking thing. I really love that. But I don't know. As far as getting where I want to be in comedy, where I don't know exactly where I want to be yet, but I don't know. I feel like I might have to settle down for a little bit, but I don't know, man. What would it take for you to consider moving out of the van? To be where I want to be in comedy would be one. If I could get steady paychecks through comedy, enough to pay for a place, that would be ideal. But at the same time, maybe I need to get a place to get where I want to go in comedy. And just settle down and just get rooted. Let people get to know you and shit like that. That's where I'm at kind of right now. But we'll see. So, yeah, I don't really know, Rob, but that's a great fucking question. Spending a lot of time in it will make you consider moving out of it, and good luck with comedy. That's how I kind of want to look at it with. Good luck with comedy, meaning money coming from comedy. That's what it would take for me to consider moving out of the van. Wonderful question. What a good way to end the questions podcast. That was a monster question at the end. I had no idea, too. I didn't even proofread that shit. It just kind of ended up that way. Fantastic. I keep bumping my laptop. I hope that's not going to bug anybody. But this is fun. We did it about 25 minutes right now? This is perfect. This is all we need, man. So there you go. If you have any more questions, hit me up, man. Let me know. Let me know what you guys are thinking about this shit. You can do it on Twitter at Utilize Shrooms, or you can go to my website and email me, joekellycomedy.com. Just do that. Hit me up on Facebook. Do whatever. If you have questions about this shit, let them fly at me. It's been an interesting few years, man, and it's definitely different than what most people do. And if you have questions, it'll help me generate a little bit more content. Speaking of content, check out I'm putting more shit up on YouTube. So it's, I believe the channel is Utilize Shrooms, of course, as is everything. But I've been doing like a cooking show on there. And I've also, the Booty Man's been coming back, and he's been cutting some promos on some motherfuckers out there. And he's going hard on these bitches. So you probably want to check those out. But I'm trying to generate more content. So if you want to check out some of that shit, do it. There are some stand-up videos on there. We'll probably put more of those eventually, but right now I'm trying to just generate other content around the stand-up comedy. So the YouTube page at Utilize Shrooms. Also, if you want to support anything that I'm doing, really would appreciate it. utilizeshrooms.threadless.com. You can pick up some shirts, all that good stuff. Also, my website, joekellycomedy.com. I'm going to redo that tomorrow and just make it a little bit more concise. If that's a good word for it. I'm not sure if that's the word, but I'm going to update the store and all that shit too, so you can get some stuff on my website, joekellycomedy.com, Kelley. As always, at Utilize Shrooms on Twitter and Instagram, all that good stuff. Hey man, thanks for checking out the podcast, guys. It feels good to be back in the South. All my friends in Nashville, I'll be seeing you in the real soon for the next couple weeks, man. I'll be bumming around, so let's link up, let's hang out, let's have a good time, man. Thank you once again for checking out the podcast. I really appreciate it. It's Joe Kelly's Van Chronicles. I'm Joe Kelly. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else.